We are live here at the Daily Signal booth in the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. I am honored to be joined by Tiffany Justice and Tina Descovich, the co-founders of Moms for Liberty. So great to have you both here.
We are honored to be here.
Absolutely. You guys do amazing work at the Daily Signal.
Well, thank you. Right back at you.
Thanks.
So I wanted to ask, and this is kind of a tough question maybe at the start, but
You're
we
gonna
saw
go right off the bat, huh? Okay.
we saw on Saturday something, we haven't seen since JFK, since Reagan, a president, or what in this case, a former president, but also a candidate for president getting shot at. And this is at a time when the parental rights movement that you guys are largely at the forefront of, has been so demonized. And you guys in particular, you've been put on a map with Ku Klux Klan chapters by, the Southern Poverty Law Center, an organization with no credibility whatsoever. Do you see a connection between the hate that you guys have been receiving and this horrific attack on former President Trump?
How could you not see the connection? I think maybe now all of America will wake up to the level of hate and animosity, threats. It's not okay. It's not okay to demonize moms and dads that are standing up for their children. It's not okay to call them the terrible names that they're calling them, the same names that they've been calling President Trump. And so, I think it's a wake-up call for America. I do think there's been a shift and an adjustment since this has happened. I hope people will take a step back and cool their temperatures a bit.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I really took away, honestly, is the fact that the shooter was 20 years old. And I just thought it to myself, 4 years ago, COVID. He was 16, and I have kids that are around the same age. And I just don't think that we can talk enough about the effects of COVID on the mental health of our children. And I hope this is a wake-up call to America that we really need to start putting kids first again.
And we saw after that, it's almost hard to say because it's so bad. We saw people on the left saying that Trump failed to calm down the rhetoric, that when he raised his fist and said, fight, fight, we all saw the bravery. Cenk Uygur, who was on our show earlier this week, who I disagree with on pretty much everything, but he was saying, look, if you don't see Trump's bravery there, you're not living in reality. But they're blaming him for not ratcheting down the rhetoric.
A couple things on that. First of all, the left lies a lot about a lot of things. And so I think we just need to understand the iron law of woke projection is always in play with them, right? And so, of course, they're going to say that. But when I look at President Trump, honestly, I see a lot of our moms and dads. These are people who have great lives, right? They have families that they love, successful businesses. They've been investing in their communities in lots of ways. But in the busiest time of their lives, they really haven't engaged in politics. And, President Trump had been involved in politics kind of peripherally, but he was never like a candidate or running. And so he's now served in office, choosing to serve again. And it's just a great reminder that every American needs to stand up now and decide how they're going to use the gifts that God has given them to move our country forward.
And let's just think for a second of what they mean by he should turn down the rhetoric.
Right.
Right.
That means they want to silence him. They want to shut him up.
That's right.
Just like they do with our organization and our parents. How else is he going to turn down the rhetoric when they're calling him? I don't want to repeat the names of the things that they call him and they call us, because I don't want to do it justification. But when you use those terminologies, what are you supposed to do? You either fight back or you shut up and you're silent, and then evil wins. And that's not acceptable. That's not okay. It's not okay for President Trump. It's not okay for us. It's not okay for our members.
Yeah. How do you see J.D. Vance and the parental rights movement?
Tiffany, I actually haven't had a time here yet to have a conversation between us, but, I'm very excited. I was introduced myself to him last night, just like the rest of the world, on the stage. I don't know him other than what I saw last night, and I'm really excited that an ordinary man from a humble background who loves his mother, who has had family struggles, who loves his Mima, and who has a Mima, that of the caliber. And if anybody's listening, they need to go back and hear the story of Mima, I would say. We do know what he has done politically, and we know that he has stood with parents so far. that he is concerned about the protection of children so far. And so, in my opinion, I think we're really looking forward to building stronger relationships with him and advancing the Moms for Liberty mission statement.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Where do you see, the Republican Party? We're here at the Republican National Convention.
Sure.
I think parental rights is such an important issue that really should be unifying. Democrats should be trying to have you guys just as much as the Republicans.
Sure should.
But, what are you seeing on the ground here in Milwaukee?
Yeah, a couple things. There was a Republican Party platform in 2016, and then in 2020, it was kind of just the same thing, right? That was put out again. There wasn't anything new. There wasn't anything innovative. And now this new platform in 2024 is exciting. As soon as I heard that they were going to be revamping, I did everything we could to have some influence in what that would say. And I think what you'll see is a lot of those great policies from Florida and a lot of the vision of Moms for Liberty reflected in that education platform. It's 16 pages. People should pick it up and read it. It's really palatable. People need to understand what the Republican Party stands for. So my message to Democrats is pick up the platform and then maybe take a pen and just strike out anything you disagree with. And then take a look and see how many things did you actually disagree with. What I think a lot of Democrats will find is that they're going to have a lot of things in common with Republican parents, especially in the education realm and parental rights realm.
If I could just add, last night I was sitting watching the convention, obviously, in the convention hall, and my best friend from childhood, lifelong Democrat, has never voted for a Republican ever, was texting me. And she was commenting. She said, I have watched every minute of the convention. And then the text came in that said, I'm considering switching parties.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I was,
huge.
I mean, our whole life. I'm 50 years old. I've known her since we were children.
Yeah.
No fan of Donald Trump in the past. Like half of America, a lot of animosity towards him and emotional anger I've heard out of her in the past. And for that text to come in and for her to say she was considering switching parties, I didn't know what to say back. I was like, oh my goodness.
Okay. How can I help you?
What can I do? But also, we have such a long relationship together. I'm like, this is a miracle. And then after J.D. Vance spoke, she texted again and she said, I'm a fan with little hearts and stars and things.
That's great.
And so
nice.
It was a good evening for me personally to see the movement and the ordinary people. She's not hugely political in the first place, and so just ordinary people are starting to tune in to see what the Republican Party, what conservatives really are about, and to start connecting with it. It was a good moment for me.
And I would just add, the Republican Party has not always been welcoming to new people. Even Tina and I, when we were running for school board, trying to work, I was a new Republican in 2016. And so what our moms have found sometimes is some of the RACs haven't been extremely welcoming to new people in the past. That's changing. And I think it's incredibly important. I think Republicans need to create the space for people to change their minds and to join us. And, I think that people are often used in lots of interesting ways in their lives, and this idea of some purity test to become a Republican or to be part of the party needs to go away. We need to understand that people can look at that platform, and if they agree with what's on there, we need to welcome them into the party and try to move our country forward, because we need every single vote. Because, Tyler, you look at what happened with Gavin Newsom. AB 1955. He just signed into law in California that schools should keep secrets from parents. And in no other situation, Tina and I are former school board members, schools don't keep secrets from parents about when kids are expressing mental distress. I have no idea what this idea of gender confusion should be any different, but it's time for parents to take a stand against these really harmful policies that are being passed.
Well, and you guys just had a major win on that issue in particular with the Title IX rewrite. And this is the thing that really gets me is, Biden, the administration, is citing Bostock. And Bostock, right there in black and white, says this doesn't apply to bathrooms. This doesn't apply to changing rooms. This doesn't apply to women's sports. Like, those are separate issues. We're only handling employment. And I'm not a big fan of Gorsuch's opinion in that case.
Sure.
But I think and the Biden administration says, no, this does apply to bathrooms. And so you guys just had a major win on Title IX would you talk about that?
Yeah, I think before we talk about Title IX, and I'll kick that one to Tiffany, she's been heavily involved in that on our team. I just want to say I think it's very important for American parents to understand Title IX, understand the rewrite of Title IX and what goes into effect August 1st if something isn't done. And so we at Moms for Liberty have done something, and we continue to do something, and I'll kick that one to Tiffany to go into more detail about.
So to learn more about Title IX, you can go to our website, momsforliberty.org. We have an amazing Title IX resource page there that has a fact sheet about the changes that the Biden administration has, proposed and then now is trying to put into effect. As Tina said, it'll go into effect on August 1st. And really, they want to redefine sex to include gender identity and sexual orientation. What does that look like in schools for your kids? That means boys on your girls' sports teams and vice versa, boys in your girls' bathrooms and private spaces, and also gender ideology being pushed into schools and secrets being kept from parents, again, when their children are expressing mental distress. The very moment that we should be absolutely engaging parents in their children's lives in a school when we see that type of harm coming towards them. We were very excited to get a preliminary injunction win in the 10th Circuit. That was Kansas that led that, with Alaska, Wyoming, and Utah. We also were joined by the Young America's Foundation and Female Athletes United in that win. And what the judge said was that in certain places, the ruling, the new regulations, can't go into effect. And so we're kind of figuring out what that's going to look like going forward, especially for our groups and our chapters. Tyler, the Department of Justice and the Department of Education are not fans of Moms for Liberty. We all remember when the NSBA went to Merrick Garland and the DOJ, and within 4 days, Merrick Garland turned around and basically called parents domestic terrorists. How incredibly insulting and frustrating for the American government to be weaponized against the people. And so we're being very cautious with the way that we share information with the Department of Justice, because we know that our moms have been targeted in the past, and our first and primary concern is always going to be the safety and security of our members and their children.
And we've been publishing many documents obtained showing that the Department of Justice received a briefing about, hate groups from the Southern Poverty Law Center right after the Southern Poverty Law Center added Moms for Liberty to the hate map. We saw the Department of Education meeting with, it's this
we
administration.
We were labeled opposition.
Right,
literally
exactly.
Labeled the opposition. And the idea that American parents are the opposition is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
We are grateful for the work that you all have done to help us and support us and get the word out and the message out. People don't want to believe that their government is this corrupt and that they are targeting citizens in this state, innocent citizens, parents that are standing up for their children. They don't want to believe that. And so it's important that we get that message out.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for being in the arena. It wouldn't be a message at all if you guys weren't making such an impact and leading the left to really go bananas. Why do you think there is all this animus against you?
Because we're effective. We're upsetting the balance of power. We've gone after the teachers union, who have been in control of public education and a whole lot of money for a very long time. It's a power struggle, and no one's going to fight like a mother. We say that all the time. No one's going to fight like a parent and a mother for their child.
That's
and
right.
So, they were able to take a lot of ground in education for decades because they were doing things that impacted their salary and taxes and things of that nature. But when they start coming for your children and inserting themselves in between the parent-child relationship and then bringing in state level and now federal level policies and laws that are dividing families, that are harmful to your child, they've gone too far. And so they've never been pushed back since their existence. No one has ever pushed back against them. We've done it effectively. We keep doing it. They can't keep us down. We pop right back up. We have a level of courage, and I don't mean just Tiffany and I. I'm talking about our 300
moms.
Chapter chairs, our
That's
130,000 moms. There's a level of courage that you show for your children that you show for your children that you wouldn't show for anyone else. And so they're afraid. They're afraid because they don't know how to beat us, and they can't beat us because we will never stop. It's our kids.
Well, and I think, feeling as a dad, the change in your heart when you have these little ones.
Your heart lives outside of your body when you have a child. There's nothing else like it. And so you're absolutely right. And the values that we stand for at Moms for Liberty are that we empower others, we build relationships, and we stand for truth. And that truth part is incredibly important right now in a nation where you have the President of the United States pushing gender ideology into schools. You have a Supreme Court justice who isn't willing to define what a woman is because she isn't a biologist. I mean, what nonsense. And so the real message to the American public is none of this is complicated. This is all common sense stuff that you know. Parents are the best experts for their children. And just keep repeating that. Parents need to understand that there's no one that's going to advocate for their child. They need to trust their instincts when dealing with their kids, and they need to not look to any expert to tell them that they maybe aren't right about how they want to educate their child or care for their child.
So, do you have anything in the works to push back against this horrible bill that Gavin Newsom just signed into law in California?
Yeah, I want to give a huge shout out to California parents, women like Erin Friday and others that had the ballot initiative, Protect Kids California. I mean, she had hundreds of thousands of signatures with like no money. And so do we have anything planned? Yeah, we need to fundraise in California, and we need big names, people like Elon Musk, people like Michael Schellenberger, to support us, to get the word out about that ballot initiative. If she had just had a little bit of money and some support in California, they would have gotten that on the ballot. And that was to protect children, to stop gender transition, medical transition for kids, to stop the gender ideology happening in the schools. So the plan in the works is to continue to grow Moms for Liberty, to continue to grow those chapters, to help them to communicate effectively, to continue to build out a legislative committee for the chapters in California. So not only are they fighting back against those types of horrible policies, but also driving the narrative, putting out what they want to see as a vision for the future. People want to fight for something, right? And Gavin Newsom, listen, I think we're about to see a whole shift with the Democrats. I don't know what's going to happen as far as President Biden. I've heard Obama has just come out right now and said that he thinks he needs to step down and take a step back. And I think that
Breaking news right here.
Breaking news, just happened today. And so I think what you're going to see, honestly, is Gavin Newsom stepping up to the plate and seeing Kamala running for president and Gavin joining her as VP. That's just my own personal prediction, but he brings a lot of money, and he is a slick guy who tells lies without flinching. And so we need to take a stand and show America what has happened in California. What happens in California, it does not stay in California. It is not Vegas. And Tina and I have watched as those horrible policies that have been passed there have been sprinkled and spread all across the United States.
And what have you seen is the most effective way at pushing back against these lies of groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center? You know, I believe you told me that one of your brave Moms for Liberty tried to get my book on them into a library.
She did,
and the library wouldn't take it.
That's
and
right.
I'm like,
who's banning books?
yeah.
It's very interesting, Tyler. Good point.
But have there been more efforts at that? What other ways should Americans push back?
Oh my goodness, there is a plethora of ways. The first thing you need to do is go to momsforliberty.org and join Moms for Liberty. Our chapters around the country are doing numerous things. We have 380 school board seats we've won. You can run for school board. You can support somebody running for school board. Right. Keep yourself educated on the issues so that you can have that most impact at the level. You can stand up just as a mom or a dad. You can sign up for our Moms for Libraries program where you can help distribute books like yours, other good children's books in elementary school. We have a lot of publishers that donate books to our organization, and then we distribute them to our chapters, and they make sure they get in public school libraries. So there's a counterbalance there. We do a plethora of things. There's a million ways to get involved in your chapters, and so I encourage you to join a Moms for Liberty chapter, start a Moms for Liberty chapter, and become part of this movement that really is reaching a critical mass where it is impacting America on all levels of government, and that's our mission statement: to unify, educate, and empower parents to defend their parental rights at all levels of government. And we're doing that. 42 bills in 12 states we've gotten signed into law in the last 2 years that protect parental rights, make curriculum more transparent in schools, protect girls' sports, all the things that align with our mission. And so the work is happening. We are winning.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I love that you shared the mission statement. The educate piece is incredibly important. The majority of Americans agree with us on these issues. People oftentimes they're not scared to talk about it, but they don't know how to talk about it. And so what our chapters do so effectively is educate their communities. The best thing I think people can do, besides making sure they're registered to vote and making sure everyone they know, from the waiter or waitress at a restaurant to your dry cleaner to your kid's teacher, make sure they're registered to vote. So many Americans who agree with us aren't registered to vote. They need to understand their vote matters. It's important. It counts, right? But the next thing is to talk about issues with people. As I said before, these are not complicated issues. No child is born in the right body. There's no right way. Wrong body. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh gosh. No child. Thank you so much for that. No child is born in the wrong body. There's no right way to be a boy or a girl.
There you
right?
go.
And so I think using just really common terminology with people, talking to people like human beings, not overcomplicating these things that are basic facts and truth and human nature, is a really important step. And I think the more awareness we create, the more change you're going to see.
So I spoke with Vivek Ramaswamy yesterday.
Great.
And I asked him
So awesome.
if there's been any discussion of a cabinet position perhaps for him.
That's exciting.
And he said he and Trump have had positive conversations about it.
Sure.
But I'm wondering, who do you guys like if Trump wins, very big if, we're
Sure.
3 months out, anything could happen. But if he does, is there anybody that you like for education secretary?
I think me or Tina would be great. I mean, honestly, I'll just tell you that's the truth. We're disruptors. We went into an education system that we saw was working against parents. We saw behind the education curtain. COVID happened. Every American saw behind the education curtain. And the Department of Education has become so bloated. All of that bloat has trickled down to the districts, and it's taken us away from what's important, reading, writing, and math. We've got a real battle ahead. Tina talked about the teachers' unions. They have way too much control in our children's lives. We saw that very directly at the school district level, but at the federal government level, no one can forget that picture of Joe Biden with his arm around Randy Weingarten, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so we really need to start pushing back.
I'll just add to that, I would be happy with anyone that their number one priority is to start to dismantle the federal Department of Education.
Yeah.
And so, that's what we would do, and that's what we would expect of somebody in the next administration.
And that's what President Trump has very clearly said he's willing to do. And he signed our parent pledge. I have to be honest, he really does stand with us on a lot of the issues that we're concerned about, and we're really thankful for that.
Well, thank you both so much. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would just say get registered to vote, get out there and vote, and we'll just add, since that's the theme this week, fight, fight, fight.
Fight. Absolutely.
Such an amazing moment. Well, thank you again so much, Tina, Tiffany. This is Tyler O'Neill again at the Daily Signal, reporting live from the RNC. We'll see you next time.